Dr. Daniel Reich is a neurologist and neuroradiologist. He's the director of the Translational Neuroradiology Section at the NIH National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. In his clinical practice, Dr. Reich cares for people living with MS and other neurological diseases, and he leads several clinical trials focused on multiple sclerosis. Dr. Reich is also the 2016 recipient of the Brancic Prize for Innovation in MS Research and the co-chair of the 2025 ACTRIMS Forum. Welcome back to Real Talk MS.
Thanks, John. Happy to be here again.
The Brancic Prize for Innovation in MS Research is awarded each year at the ACTRIMS Forum. As I just mentioned, you're a past winner of the prize, and in fact, you nominated this year's Brancic Prize winner, Dr. Mika Simmons. What motivated you to nominate Dr. Simmons for this award?
Yes, I really was fortunate to win the Brancic Prize and really share the vision that the Brancics had about the importance of innovation in multiple sclerosis. And thinking about innovation and technological innovation and bringing in new ideas, I really couldn't think of anybody better along those lines than Mika Simmons. He's brought all sorts of new technologies to bear, looking at multiple sclerosis and at the process of myelin repair and how myelin is lost in multiple sclerosis using a whole variety of really cool, interesting, kind of deep technologies. And also looking across not just multiple sclerosis, but other conditions like aging and even Alzheimer's disease that may share mechanisms with MS that we can really learn from.
I know that Dr. Simmons' research, some of it has to do with the effect of chronic inflammation on myelin. Can you give us a little peek inside what that's about?
Yeah, so in the last few years, Mika and his teams have done some really remarkable studies that show that the immune system still sits in the brain in inappropriate ways as we get older, and we know it's true in MS, and we know it's true in some kinds of dementias as well. And this interplay between the immune system sitting in the brain and the myelin-making cells of the brain and the brain's own immune system, so it's the immune system of the body and the immune system of the brain together, can act in not such good ways. And Mika has uncovered some really fundamental mechanisms by which that works and has shown that we can even use some new therapeutics approaches to make that better.
We've been talking about repair. Maybe we should take a half step back and talk about how myelin repair would impact someone living with MS.
Yeah, so we know that when multiple sclerosis attacks the brain, that the axons, which are the nerve fibers, they can take a hit, but many of them survive and can survive for really long periods of time. And myelin is one of the ways that these nerve fibers are kept alive. And if we can figure out how to make the myelin regrow, then we can keep the nerve fibers that have survived the initial attack alive for longer than would otherwise have been the case. And so that's one critical piece of this. And to make that happen, I think we also need to reduce the inflammation that kind of can linger for years and years. Mika's worked on both of those things and made really fundamental contributions.
Switching gears just a little bit, we talked a couple of years ago, and since that time, I'm curious, what have you seen in the realm of imaging and how it may be impacting MS treatment and care today?
So I think one of the fundamental advances that we've made in multiple sclerosis imaging has been the ability to use non-invasive imaging, in particular MRI imaging, but tuned in new ways to detect distribution or abnormal distributions of iron in the brain. And it turns out that iron, which we can see really well on MRI, can accumulate in various kinds of inflammatory cells that can keep this inflammation and myelin damage ongoing for years and years. We now know how to do that. We now can make those images. And what we're learning now is how to use those images to figure out who are the people who we could most help with next generation therapies and test whether those therapies are working.
Last question, and it'll be the same one I asked you a couple of years ago when we last talked. What do you see in MS research today that has you most excited?
I see that we have taken the first baby steps toward really meaningful treatments for progressive multiple sclerosis. We've had some large clinical trials read out over the last year that have opened the door just a bit using medications that can impact inflammation that stays within the brain for years and years. I think this is the first of many ways in which we're going to have to work on the problem of stopping progression in MS. But the door is just a bit open now. And I think once the door is a bit open, it's a little bit easier to open it further. And that's what I'm really excited about.
Dr. Daniel Reich, I want to thank you for all you do to help improve the lives of people who are living with MS. Thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to sharing more progress. There's a lot of hard work ahead, but I think we're on a good track now.